strangely, this feels right. There's some legitimate ways to get those white water rings off of a table, and then there's the legitimate ways. Those are the ones that I'm interested in. The ones that have the random guy that just gets on the internet but speaks really confident like, you need to try these at-home solutions that will solve your problem today. I don't know why I use like a 1940s broadcaster voice. For me to test some of those off-the-wall theories, I need a board and some water rings. I got a piece of walnut here that I sprayed with a little bit of lacquer. I didn't go crazy with this because I don't want a perfect finish. I want the water rings on my test board. Usually you get those rings whenever your finish starts getting kind of worn out just over time. There's also certain finishes that are more prone to this. Now, if the ring is white, that's moisture getting into the finish. If it's dark, then that's moisture getting into the wood, and that's a whole other problem. I got a couple different types of glasses because I figure we'll get some different shape and size water rings. So I got some water here, just a little dip. Now we wait. After a few hours, I did get some water rings, so now I get to do that first test, which is toothpaste. Now this is where things get kind of weird. Yeah, stay with me on this one. And that's because all these recipes that people come up with seem to vary, right? So in this case, I'm using a whitening toothpaste because some people say you have to use a whitening toothpaste. At the same time, other people say you can't use that and you have to use a regular toothpaste. So I got one of those too. So we can try out both of them. Then on top of it, some say you really gotta scrub it good with the toothbrush. Some of them say, don't do that. If you haven't noticed, this is not a tutorial. This is an experiment. So about half the audience right now is turning off the video because they thought I was gonna show them how to get rid of water rings. Nope. I just kind of want to see what works out. I don't know how much to rub this in, because again, some people said do it a whole lot. Some people said don't do it a whole lot. Let's wipe it off, see what happens. Ooh, it's kind of smeary. I feel like I got to put a little bit of water on it just to get the toothpaste off, which I feel like kind of defeats the purpose. Sure, there's no toothpaste in the grain. Now I'm gonna try out the non-whitening version because, you know, I'm hopeful for that. I think what most people have to keep in mind with these sorts of things is the subjectivity to it all. Like, what type of finish did you have on the piece, on the table? And what, you know, was it shellac? Was it polyurethane? Was it lacquer? What was it? And then how worn down was that? How bad of a ring is it? There's so many variables. So there might be something I tried with this toothpaste method that it worked for somebody somewhere one day in the past, but for me, it's not quite working. I don't know. We'll see how this one goes. Now that looks pretty good. I have to wonder though, that's with no water getting that toothpaste off. So if you leave it just like that, it does look better, right? Like, wow. The thing is I can feel toothpaste on there. So I'm wondering, do people actually get the toothpaste off? Or do they let it dry on there? They think that it's off and that's really masking the water stain. It feels a little bit sticky. I gotta use a little bit of water. I don't want to, but it's so sticky. Just a little bit. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit better. The non-whitening one might have done a little bit better, but not really because it improved the water stain. It's more that it didn't do as much damage, because the one that I did with whitening seems to have caused a little bit more damage than it was originally. That's not supposed to happen, is it? Yeah, the whitening toothpaste was no bueno. Now's the one that I'm a little bit more optimistic for. Mayonnaise. I don't know how much mayonnaise to use, so a good amount? I don't know. This feels wrong. It feels wrong. Oh, I put too much mayonnaise. Ugh. Ah. I got a feeling that somebody's gonna say that I didn't quite apply the mayonnaise right, or the toothpaste right. You know, that I was supposed to take my table and move it to like the northernmost point in my house, and while wearing a cummerbund and lightly petting my favorite flamingo, while doing this process, it would have worked. First off, my flamingo doesn't really like mayo. Second, that's not really intuitive, right? If I'm supposed to just grab toothpaste and do this, I shouldn't have to like do something special to do it. It kind of defeats the purpose. I'm just kidding. My flamingo loves mayo. All right, trivia. What country consumes the most mayonnaise? I'll give you a second. According to the interwebs, it's Russia. Apparently they love mayonnaise. And like some of the Baltic countries too, Eastern European countries. And then like Chile. Apparently they love mayonnaise in Chile. I like mayonnaise too, it's all good. I tell you what, if I just don't touch it right now, it looks pretty nice. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It looks pretty good. The thing is it looks like an oil finish. And this is lacquer. So I could wipe this off and it's not gonna look like an oil finish. Does that mean that people are leaving the mayonnaise on the table indefinitely? I don't think you're supposed to do that. All right, let's wipe some of this off and see how it did. Huh, well, I'll be. Look at that. Like seriously, wow, like that totally worked. The thing is it looks oily because it's got mayonnaise on it. And I can only dry it so much without putting some water on it to actually clean it. So if I left mayonnaise on here, it wouldn't do too bad. You can see it actually helped this one right here. Some of the mayonnaise spilled over. This was the toothpaste one, and you can see this part right here is when I scrubbed with the whitening toothpaste and it made it worse. Some of the mayonnaise got on this side and it fixed it. So that's pretty sweet. So mayonnaise is plausible. Now, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna let this sit a few minutes. I wanna see if that ring comes back. If it doesn't, then what I'm gonna do is take just a little dab of water, wipe it, dry it real quick to try to get the mayonnaise off because I don't want mayonnaise sitting on my table. I'm gonna see if the ring comes back when I do that. All right, it's been a minute, and because I know there was a water stain there, I could kind of see the ring. No one in the world would know it except you and I, we saw it. But I'm now going to just try to get a little bit of that mayonnaise off. Just a little bit of water. Just smell wood. I don't smell any mayo. It still looks great. It still looks great. That's pretty cool. Now I'm wondering why that is. Here's my best guess. I think the mayo works better on woods that have, the finish has been really worn down so that all of that oiliness is into the wood. So basically you're replacing the finish that you had on it with an oil finish. If this had a few more layers of finish, but still had the white rings, I don't know that it would have done as well. I might end up having to test that. This one has a shellac finish. I've got a couple rings on here. Right here, hopefully you can see it. I've got a pretty big size ring. I'm gonna throw some mayo on that dude, see what it does. I've got a piece of cherry here that this has lacquer on it. I don't know if it's the same amount of lacquer, but it's got a pretty gnarly ring on that one too. I'm gonna put some mayo on that, see what it does. I can see it now. What'd you do this weekend? Oh, I did mayonnaise and mayonnaise adjacent activities. What'd you do? This was 3 coats of shellac. So it actually had a pretty decent finish on it. I still got water rings. Way easier to get white water rings on the shellac than it was on the lacquer. Let's let that sit for a second. In hindsight, this was a pretty nice piece of cherry that I did not need to rub mayonnaise on. Everything smells like mayonnaise in the shop. Oh. All right, for the shellac board, it's probably hard to see on camera, but the ring is definitely still there. unlike the Lacquer walnut board, is still there. It does look better though. I have to say that. I didn't use any water. This is just mayo, but it does look a little bit better, but it's still there. Yeah, so with mayo on shellac, Let's look at cherry though. Like seriously, am I out of my mind? Look at that. Where is the ring? Like that was a pretty prominent ring. Wow. Well, okay then. I thought that toothpaste and mayo was a bit weird, but this next one. Whew. Apparently a really quick way to get all those rings off your table is to essentially light it on fire. Seems kind of sketchy. So let's do it. Added a couple extra rings on my board just in case I need them. And a couple of them are really vivid. So those are the ones I want to try out. I have some denatured alcohol. This stuff is flammable. It also evaporates very fast. So the plan is to put a wet coat over the ring, very quickly light it on fire, and hopefully all goes well. I filmed my video at 24 frames per second. That means that your eye is seeing 24 individual pictures every single second, and then cranked it up to 120 frames per second. So now you're seeing 120 pictures every single second. Slows it down to about 20% speed. I did the first spot and then I figured, well, might as well do a second spot too. That didn't fare very well, huh? Yeah, I have to say, the rings are pretty much gone. I'll give it that, except so is all the rest of the sheen. I bet I could put some mayonnaise on that and make that way better. Well, that was really cool. I'm wholly disappointed because, well, I was hoping it was gonna work. But I'm not deterred because I looked online and I did find that the late, great Charles Neal does have a video showing that this works. And well, I don't know if anyone ever knew more about finishing than Charles Neal. So I'm gonna try it again. And this time I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I snuck into my house and I grabbed a walnut tray that I made a while back. It has several coats of Armor Seal wipe-on poly, and I'm just gonna go for it, see what it does. Please don't tell my wife. All right, let's give it a shot. Well, it's still there. No change whatsoever. Internet! All right, so toothpaste, mayo, fire. I can't say they were all winners, but hey, it was a lot of fun. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and till we meet again, get in your shop and build something awesome. Or burn something down. Whatever.